All right. So today is day 2 of our 3-day challenge. And so in day 1, we talked about the author brand, and today we're going to talk about the target reader profile. And the idea here is to make sure that you know who you're speaking to, because when we write our marketing materials and anything social media, what we have to remember is we're tailoring it to try to engage with someone that we want to buy our books, right? And so with that in mind, what does it mean to have that target reader profile? Well, one of the things is, which I kind of laugh about, when you think about a person, is it the person that's ready to buy? Is it, like me, or who is it like? Because if you think everyone is your reader or your customer, we know it's not true. Because not everybody likes thrillers, or not everybody likes romance, and not everybody we have to make sure we find the ones that do, so that they're ready to buy that next book that we put out. So remembering that no one, if you think everyone is, then no one is. So I want you to have it really clear who that target reader is for your success. So with that in mind, we want you to think about crafting and developing your reader target, because it is about the experience with your books that they're going to get. So when I talked about the hook, that's to get them interested. Then the 30-second pitch, if you will, the whole elevator pitch, having that part of your story about why they want to engage with you even more, but read your books. It's just so important that I can then tailor those comments back to that target reader, and they'll get hooked and they will be interested and they will want to read. But if I'm just putting it out there to everybody saying, here's what it is, so go see, go see what you think, discerning adults are going to look and go, well, this isn't what I like to read much. Or they look at it and go, oh, this is perfect. I love to read mysteries. You get the idea. So what we really want to do is make sure that when you do have your target reader profile ready to go, that you will then develop all of your target targeted marketing, your marketing for them, so that it is really easy for them to relate to you and to understand why they want to follow you and read your books. And I think about it often because if you're doing cozies as an example, and you're going to have a whole series, or anything that you're going to have a series of mysteries or whatever, the idea there is also that if they like the first one, they want to engage with your main character again, and the secondary characters that you put together, because they really loved it and they want to see what's their next adventure, what are they doing next. So when we hook them, we want to continue to engage with that target reader profile to expand. But also, when we think about selling books, of course, I mean, who wouldn't want to sell a million books? That'd be great. But the idea is that we need to get a small group buying the books to start bubbling up, to be able to have them refer you and things like that. So that target reader profile is so important, and it continues on. It's not something that we just do once and we're good to go. Because if you do switch your genre, you do switch into something else, those are going to be different target reader profiles. They are not going to be the same. And I'm saying, if you're doing a children's book, that's not the same as someone who is going to be interested in thrillers. Now you say, well, the thriller reader may be a mom and they'll buy the book, maybe. But the idea is that you really need to find those moms that are looking for fun children's books. So with that in mind, that's a different engagement that you're going to have with, if you do switch genres, when you do have your target reader profile for your one series that you know and you're really working hard at, that small group, even just a small group of orders in the beginning, can then expand by referrals and by continuing to communicate with them and them doing reviews for you on Goodreads or whatever. All of a sudden, if you can expand that engagement, that expands your sales as well. So having a small group to start with is a-okay. And having an idea that you want to, start getting some sales, but then engage with those target readers again. And if you know who they are and you're really focused on them, to get them to do the reviews and to tell their friends and all, that's really important as well. It's your tribe. Some people like to call it a tribe, or it's your community. And so it may be small, and I'm just wanting you to understand it's okay if you have a small email list, because we don't all have thousands and thousands of people on our email list, but we do have a group that we can start with. And that's why I say that is we need to know who they are and engage with them to get that platform going so that you will be able to sell more and more books as well. So here's what I want you to do is I first want you to say, who reads your genre? I want you to describe the reader by age, gender, employment, and hobbies. Anything that you can get a little bit more complete picture of. And here are 3 ways. You can ask friends, if, do you read them? And if they say, no, I don't read mysteries, and you're writing an amateur sleuth mystery, say like, okay, she's not going to read that. So who do you know that loves mysteries? Oh, my friend Pat does. Oh, okay. So now all of a sudden, when you do that, then ask more about Pat. Find out what she likes and when she does read it, or talk to Pat and find out more about how she selects her next book. And you just understand the idea of engaging with some of your peeps to find out who might be a really good target. And then, of course, getting their email addresses and moving on with that. You can search online for articles or blog posts about, who is reading your genre, and a little bit more about who they write for. So, for example, if there is a blog that you read that is about, say it's romance, and so you're reading that and you notice they talk about some of their readers and seeing who does follow them, and just you can even just look down and see who comments and see a little bit more about them, and you go, well, that's kind of creepy because you're kind of looking into other people and seeing what they're doing. But in social media, we have profiles out there about what we like and what we want to do. So in blog posts, you can click and see that. You can look in your social media to see who has followed whom. And if you have a favorite author you follow, who are some of the people following that author that you feel you write like? In the first one, in the author brand discussion, we talked about comps. Who do you write like? And it's hard sometimes to figure out who those comps are, who those other maybe either authors or books, what are the titles that really resonate. And when you're doing some of that, that's another place to be able to understand if I am like, and I said mine was between Murder, She Wrote and Medium. And I was saying, I think those are a little too old, but then I'm thinking, but that's pretty specific to who I am. And then I look at those two, and they both are based on some books. And so then I looked at those, but I looked to see who follows Murder, She Wrote on social media, or because all of the different aspects of social media means that you can click on and look at who's following and looking for their ages, looking for who is it, female or male, if it's employed people or not, if it's retirees, and are there hobbies. So I want you to be as specific as possible when you're thinking of your target reader. So I hope that makes some sense to you, as far as anybody in business is trying to find buyers for a product. And to do that, I need to make sure that they have a need for the product or a desire for the product. So who desires to be able to be engaged by your book? And I really feel once we know that, we then can tailor all of our marketing towards that target group and be more successful than just putting it up and hoping people find it and hoping people will, like it and recommend it. Well, with that in mind, I just want to also, when you think about the other authors that are similar and to your work and identifying those like reads, think about too that cozy readers are typically women over 40. Okay, you probably thought that. I also add that like Hallmark movies. I always add things in that I feel that person who would like, the cozy would like her. She is an amateur sleuth, but there is, no sex, no bad words, you get the drift. So that's interesting. Now, historical fiction readers, I just have a couple of notes about that. Women read more than men. 55% of women and 28% of men read not just historical, but also how much they read. But it's a much higher percentage women read historicals than men. And then also there's which I think is kind of interesting. Most of the readers today are 50 to 69 is an area that, and why, of course, we know is that with the advent of all the internet, a lot of the reading and going to the library and everything else kind of went out the window, unfortunately, because kids now are they can read online, which is fine with ebooks and all, but even then they're into the short bites, right? All of that. So what I need to do as an author and think about is who's going to read mine and why. And so, really, you're getting to the point of it's going to be more often women and it's going to be older women that are picking up books more often than others. However, if you're doing something that you feel really appeals more to men, that's fine, but then find out some more details about what that means and what ages they are that are reading as much. But part of me says, that just makes sense because also if you have more time as you get older to read, I have friends that have said when they retired, that was the biggest thing they wanted to do is read more books. That's great. But understanding then of the people that read your genre, who are they? Are they retirees that are over the age of 50, or not necessarily retirees, but are they older? What do they like to do, as far as maybe there's an element of true crime, for the kinds of things that you write in mysteries, and you really like the idea of people who like true crime might like yours. You get the idea, but take it a little further than just being how old and if it's male or female, and even where, because you might have a setting that you really want to focus on, and that setting, that area, that state, that city, whatever it is, that may be another thing to add into that target reader profile to get you jump started. Don't think of it as that it's the only people that'll ever read your book. That's not it. It's really the ones that start the reading of your book that get it to become a bestseller. Okay, so they are your starting group that you need to help you really explode your own book, get those book sales going. And making sure that you look for second tier authors. And when I say that, because comparing yourself or trying to compare to a James Patterson or a Stephen King, any of the biggies, here, when you hear about them and you think, oh, they're magical, they've sold millions of books. Sarah Paretsky from Sisters in Crime, all these have sold millions of books. And yet, if you're trying to aspire to that, that's great, but you really need to take the baby step for this first one, getting them out and getting them sold and starting to build that platform. So in more baby steps. If that's the case, then you need to find somebody who's within your same genre or subgenre that you feel if they read this, would they want to read your book? Okay, so that's another piece of that I feel, and I say second tier, just meaning that they're not the big blockbuster people. They're the people that you can relate to and that you're going to aspire to, and then go on to the next level. Now, also reviewing websites of like titles, for how they like to hook readers. A lot of people enjoy going onto Amazon and looking at, the first hook that people have for their books online. So if you know some of the comps that are like your book or that you feel like your series, making sure that you do look to see if there are some better words to use to hook. And plus, it's just if you need a jump start to see what others are doing. What are they saying about their book to hook the reader? And then, of course, there's the description. I also think it's fun to just see what other people are saying, even of writers that maybe within the organizations or your community and all. What are they saying about theirs and critique, and see what you think to help you define yours in a better way, so that when you're looking at it and you go, okay, so they're trying to hook target reader that is this age, this gender, has these ideas, loves these kinds of movies, whatever it is. You can tell that when you're on websites of those second tier authors or friends, and start to see, or go on Amazon, like I said, and read the descriptions on Amazon, right? Okay. this is just a fun little thing, and you might just, I love to do this, and probably I've done it in all the different um, workshops, but on this shelf, I took a picture just to get myself jazzed up. I took a picture in the grocery store of, the, the big setup that they do. Well, this was actually in, this was, I added, a little bit more to it and all that, but it was, the starter was the grocery store where they have all of the books that they're trying to sell. And there are two up there with a beautiful blonde on them. Mine's I Murder, and then one over is The Missing Tarot Card Murder. Those are my two starters in my series. Now I did the book cover, so please be kind. But those are my two that I did, and I wanted to get myself, I'm a visual, so I really wanted to get myself motivated, and I wanted to make sure that I could test it with some target readers to see what they thought. But I put it up there like, see, I'm going to be on the shelf. I'm going to be there, just motivate myself, but also to see how it looked up there too. And you look at it and say, when we're talking about typeface for your logo and for your name and for your book covers, and what typefaces do you use? And I loved to look at all of these in that same vein and to see how mine stands out. Just a fun exercise if you want to try it. I just think it's a lot of fun. All right. Now, if you don't know and you go, I still don't really know, Nikki, who I'm really targeting. I've kind of got an idea, but I'm not sure. Then I say, try the mirror technique. And why? Because sometimes you just got to look inside and say, to me, it works to say, well, if, what do I like to read? And am I writing what I like to read? And so, I got interested in cozies when I discovered them years ago, and I thought, I went through, it was Laura Childs, I believe, and I went through, I don't know, she had like 20 or 30, I don't know, she's got a ton of them out there, but she's got three different series and all these things. But the idea was, when I was reading it, and then I found another cozy, I was looking at them, and they had recipes in them, and they had all these different aspects to them they were short, so easy to read, digest. They were, so all of a sudden I'm like, well, I really like cozies. So if I like cozies, mine is probably more amateur sleuth for my Reluctant Psychic mystery series. But the idea was, I wanted to have that same kind of feel to them as I had experienced with those cozies. So now I'm thinking, okay, so if someone were like me to pick up the book, what are those things that I like? And, do I fit the profile? And, what is the age? What do I usually use? Do I use ebook? Do I like to get the books? Do I go to the library? What are the things that I do and I like because I'm writing like these other comp titles? And if someone's going to pick up my book, then maybe they are more like me. So then all of a sudden you start looking at yourself and what some of your habits are and what you think. And it just makes it a little easier for you, perhaps, to figure out who your target market is, because you are writing what you love and very likely what you liked in someone else's books that you read. So it's a little bit more of a fun technique of look in the mirror, because I find I do that quite a bit to try to understand motivation of someone to pick up my book, or motivation to look for something new to read. And what will I look for? Okay. So one of the things that I want to make sure that you understand with this group, though, is that, are you making sure you know why your stories are that fun to read or that great to read? Or, are they full of twists? Are they full of romance? Are they easy to read? What is it that is going to entertain those readers and they will come back for more? So I have to define the benefit for a reader. And one of those is back to your hook, that 8-second hook. It's really about that. If I can capture their attention with that hook and then give them a little bit more, whatever you do on the back of, the big description on the back, or what you put up on Amazon. Those are, again, like I said before, those are great places to engage with those target readers, because if they go and look and they get referred to your book by Amazon and they're reading it, they're going to, first, you got to hook them. and then you get more about what it is before they may click on it and buy it. So think of it, how do you want to be encouraged to read the next book? Okay. Now, if you are published, like I said, does the back of your book match that elevator speech? You know, that really great aspect about why people want to read your book or your series, you know, same thing. And if you're aspiring, just write the description up with that intention so that you're ready to go when you're ready to put it, you know, get the book cover all done and get it out. But also, when you do this and you do this exercise to defining the benefit, getting that hook, getting that idea of what's so great about reading my book, you then have even more confidence with your marketing as well. And a lot of what I'm talking about in both the author brand and also your target reader profile is about getting you confident to put yourself out there and help to encourage selling more books. Love the idea of having it as a business. And years ago, I had self-published a book also. And before Amazon and the internet, they were just starting and we're just a bookstore online. The idea of having started that, I started the Lemon Publishing Group because I already had a company, Lemon Tree Marketing, but I didn't want to use that. I wanted it to have its own identity. And the reason being is because I wanted that to be about my writing and about my selling those books and doing those workshops and all. So if that helps you to also create your own entity around it, that may give you the more confidence, especially if you're going to be self-published or independently published. That might be a good way to start you off, is because then you feel that it's real, that your writing business is real. Now, with that in mind, I love being able to, as a business owner, I love to be able to understand more and more about what I can also do next. So that next story, or you know, that next genre I want to get into, what are those things that I can then use and replicate? But remembering too that if you go into a whole different genre, you have a whole different target reader profile that you should do. And I say that because I want to make sure you understand that it's about that person being ready to buy. Well, if you're sending messages to someone that's never going to buy the children's book, or you have someone who's never going to buy a thriller, but always going to buy a children's book, you get the idea. I need to be very clear on whoever it is for any of the products that I'm going to do for my books, but to get more sales from my books and my writing business. So what we're going to do then for homework is you have the target reader worksheet. And the reason I think this is really going to be fun for you also is that you can use it for, as I said, for a variety of different genres that you're going to be in. So it's not something that wanting you to think about having just one target reader, unless you're never going to do anything but that mystery series or that cozy series or that romance or romantic suspense, whatever it is. If you're only going to stay in the same one with the same series type of idea, fine, then you have one. But if you are going to go into different genres, just remember you need to fill out this worksheet for each one that you do, because it'll help you to design not only your marketing, but those messages to them, because they are different people and you have different benefits of your books to them, right? And those descriptions to them have to resonate. So they are, you know, different audiences. All right. So with that, your homework for today is going to be to go through this worksheet and answer these questions so that you will be able to define your, at least your first target audience. You know, who is that first target reader profile you're going after? If you have more than one, then I challenge you to do more than one. But the idea for me right now is to get you to have your author brand ready and that confidence of the hook and the elevator pitch, matching that with your target reader worksheet, so that now you have, okay, now I have, here's who my writing business is now going to entertain. And, you know, for me, entertainment is what we're doing, right? So how are you going to entertain that group? but you have more, hopefully more confidence because this is your brand and this is your target reader profile. And then the next step will be you being able to move into your marketing plan with those things already set. And I feel like that way you can start crafting those messages and crafting what kind of promotions you want to do when you have these things set up. If you just go in, hoping that you put it up there and you got the right keywords and there's so many moving parts out there for the rest of your marketing that if these aren't set up, it will be harder for you to be as successful as you'd like because it is going to get more and more refined as you start your marketing planning to be able to really jumpstart that first group, that first wave of all of your book sales, and then continuing to support it and change it up all the time as you start something new, a new project or whatever, and add that into your marketing. So hopefully what I'm doing is giving you those building blocks to make your writing business more successful and feel more comfortable about it than to have felt like so many rabbit holes that are out there and all these pundits saying all the things that you should do and all the different workshops and all. There's so much out there. Let's start with a really good framework and then you can start adding things in and determining how they work for you. So with that, I'm just going to say first thing we talked about is who reads your genre. So starting with your genre for that target reader, well, who's reading it? What are their habits? What do they do? And I say, hobbies, gender, age, anything that you can, and even if you can find out if it's more ebook. I have been told a lot in the romance category, it's ebook more so than anything, but in nonfiction, it's more paper, based. So, some of those things the nuances, can you find those out about your target reader? And then the second thing we talked about is who can you identify as similar to, who likes what you read. And if you can't figure it out, if you're going through the different ones and you see your comp titles and you say, okay, I kind of get a feel for them, but you still don't feel confident, then do the mirror technique. So look in the mirror and see, what is it about you that drew you to writing that genre or that subgenre? And what does it mean to you? What kind of entertainment are you expecting and all? It helps you to define a little bit more about the motivations of that target reader because you love it. And so you know more about it and why were you drawn to it in the first place? And then finally, why are your stories worth the read? With that worksheet and with your author brand, starter stories and all, you should be able to really feel more confident after completing those two exercises with moving forward on your writing business. So that's our goal, that will then end the challenge with really trying to put that all together and for the next steps. So with that, oh, also, we do have a Facebook group if you want to pop in there. And you can see it right there, but it's way too long of a number for me to read off, but we do have a Facebook group. So if you have difficulty and you want to go watch, over it and go to it, you can always email me and I'll send you that link. But I didn't want to forget to let you know that a lot of people have posted things in the past there, but I also have been posting the recordings and things too there. So you've got that as well.